What's poppin', everybody? Hello and welcome to Popcorn Culture. My name is Ben Carlin and I am your host. Here with me today is my brother Jay, who will be in every episode.
I'm back. We're off the grid, man.
Man, dude, totally righteous, man. Yeah, we are just now returning from our multi-day trip down to Disney World,
Yes,
where
we
we were invited and hosted, is the terminology they like to use, by Disney themselves, and we got to experience the brand new Tron light cycle attraction.
Yes, we did.
Inside of the Magic Kingdom.
It was crazy.
It was honestly like an unbelievable, like Alice and I were talking about it because the girls got to come down on this particular trip.
Mm-hmm.
We were like, it was one of the best days we've ever had at Disney, and we got married there.
Right. Yeah,
Like,
right.
It was unbelievable. It was like this literally like launched it into contention of just like, I mean, the amount of maximized Disney experience that we got to be there for was absolutely unbelievable.
It really was. Because part of the ride was like, the whole trip was wild because like they had planned out every like things for you to do all day, and they had these like, little challenges they wanted you to go complete and stuff, so you could earn like coins, and that would earn your spot on Tron, sort of.
Sort
like
of.
they were definitely not going to not let you do it, but that was like sort of part of the trip. But yeah, and so we got to try it all out, and I'm sure we'll go through the whole trip. But like on the second day, you came through to do like the ride cam where they like will film you on the ride, which we got the footage for, and it is, it's super cool.
It is. It's absolutely hilarious. Like, I think while we're waiting in line, because you're down there with this like massive like flock of like fellow influencers from just every category of the internet you can imagine.
Yeah, it's sort of weird because like so many of the people down, it's not weird, but like so many of the people down there are just like influencers or TikTokers or YouTubers or whatever their chosen thing is that they're really big on. But like not everyone is specifically, or almost no one is specifically like, I'm a Disney vlogger or something. Whereas like we're down there and we're like, this is what we do, is talk specifically about the things we're here doing.
Yes, yes. If anything, it almost felt like one of those things like where there was this very common conversation, which is that like, you go up to all of these people and it's like, I would say 80% of the people you talk to have like 4 million plus followers on TikTok, but like at the same rate, it's so interesting to me how much like your own specific echo chamber of content, if you will.
Yeah.
It's like I feel like I know other content creators who do things that are like similar to us, but then like, you stumble across like some of these people. I think one guy there had like 40 million, 30 million TikTok followers or something. It was like, I walked up to him and was just like, hey, how's it going? What do you do? Like,
Yeah.
it's like
you've never even heard of him.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It's so unbelievable how that goes down. But like, as we're like kind of funneling our way in to go and do the ride cam portion of it, where they're going to have the camera pointed at you to sort of like get the visual experience of you riding the ride. Like, we were in line with everybody, and everybody was kind of having like a very similar conversation of like so what are you going for? Like, like it's almost like you're acting, but you're not acting.
Right,
it's just
like,
sort of like like, am I going to be Am I going to try to like deadpan challenge it? Like, I only get one shot of being filmed while doing this. So,
right. So yeah, like what are you going to do? Because this is what we're going to show the people at home. So should we like try and look like we're, actually on the grid and like competing in a game and fighting for your life on the bikes? Or are you just having a blast on the roller coaster? Or are you doing some sort of like goofy face? Or
well, here's the thing though, is that no matter like you don't even need to make a decision about it, because the ride is so much fun.
I know
that like it like carts you around. You're on these like bikes, and it's a roller coaster seat, probably unlike anything else you've ever been on.
Yeah, if you've done Flight of Passage, the seat is similar to that, in that you are like sitting on what feels like a motorcycle, kind of saddle, like you're straddling the seat and you're like leaned forward and there's something pressing down on your back. So like you're very secure.
Yes.
And you've got like handles you're holding on to. But unlike Flight of Passage, which mostly is just like a motion simulator, this is not a motion simulator. It is full on motion.
It is full on motion.
Yeah.
So it's like the other thing I was really curious about was whether or not, or what the experience might be like for people who regularly ride on a motorcycle.
Oh yeah.
Because it's like, you know, you get on it, it like leans you forward, it kind of carts you around to like the launch zone, you know, which is this like straightforward path where it just like takes off like a freaking rocket.
Yeah.
But it does cap out at 60 miles an hour, which, you know, like I think about, I'm like, you know, okay, so if you're on a real motorcycle on the interstate, like going 60 miles an hour is just like your commute, you know,
yeah,
like
that's not really that weird.
right. It's just like what you're going to do, like no matter what. So I'd be a little bit curious to know like what people who ride motorcycles might think of the ride. But like basically it carts you around. You got that camera on, you're all lit up and everything, and it just takes off. And like at that point in time, I was like, I don't even have to think about what to do because like I'm just like smiling, I'm drooling, tears are coming out of my face.
Yeah, the first time we did it, tears were literally being like pulled out of my face on the ride because it was just like going that fast.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was like, whatever you think you planned to do, it was like, it doesn't matter. Once it's going, like you were just so there.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it was a really, really, really cool experience, and being there, like when we were there, you know, we were talking about this as well, like amongst each other, but like I think we've said before, like we've joined the Disney Vacation Club, which is like a 50-year thing. It's hard to get into like the specifics of how the DVC works because you almost need like a book to explain it to you. But it means that like at bare minimum we could go to Disney for 50 years. And so we kept making the joke as well that like 50 years from now, Disney will be celebrating its 100th anniversary on the end of our contract period. And we will be in our 80s. If we're still going, it will be with our grandchildren.
That's crazy.
If our kids decide to have kids. And we were just sort of like, if we were there with the grandkids, we'd be like, back in our day, we were here the day it opened.
We got to preview this ride.
And they'd be like, Grandpa, this ride is so aged.
I know. Can you imagine, 50 years from now, like right now, it's like one of the coolest. It's like, it is amongst the coolest rides at the park.
Yes.
Whereas in like 50 years, like will that still be true?
I know.
'Cause, you know, like even like when the very first time I remember we ever went to Disney World was in 1999. 1999. And I remember being so excited to go do Space Mountain. And while we were there, it was like being refurbished. So it was just closed. So we didn't get to go. And I remember just having this like chip on my shoulder for years. Like, man, we didn't get to do Space Mountain. It's like the best ride at the park. Ugh, lame. Yep. And like on this particular trip, or when we went earlier in the year just with the family, I remember there was like it had like rained or something, so there like lines were really short, and like Space Mountain had like a 10-minute line, by which I mean there was actually no one in line at all. We just like walked straight on and did it, and I remember thinking like, wow, this is unbelievable. I get to just walk. This never happens. You get to walk right on Space Mountain. And I remember getting off being like, I'm not even sure I like enjoyed that ride.
Oh, interesting.
Like it was just like I don't know if there's normally like some lights on in Space Mountain and they just weren't on, but it was just complete pitch blackness everywhere.
Okay.
And it was just like, I'm just being like without any point of reference anywhere, I'm just being like jerked around or something. So I don't know. My last experience on Space Mountain, I was like, I don't even know if I like that, but I can't imagine ever like getting off Tron and being like, you know, that just wasn't really it. That wasn't fun.
No, I know what you mean. Yeah, it's definitely it's the only thing I would say is that like you sort of, so on the second day that we were there, we sort of had the opportunity to go on. We did our ride cam footage, and then after that they were like, honestly, if you guys want to keep riding it, like, you know, it helps fill the seats for everybody else who's doing like their ride cam stuff to, like, you know, help it look more full. So it was like, if you guys want to keep going, you can keep going
as much as you want.
Yeah, it's like, you know, you basically step off the ride and there's like a door that goes like right back to the entrance of the ride, and so like you would step off, walk up a ramp, and then like walk right directly back at like the end of the line, the start, like getting on again. So we got to ride it 5 times in a row, and which on the whole, is even that I was like, this will never happen again.
That was the thing. Like whenever you go to Disney World, there is like people will tell you like it's not really a relaxing vacation, right? Because typically it costs like a lot of money to be there at all, and like as a result, it feels like any moment you're not like working towards having fun or like maximizing your experience.
Working towards having fun is such an American thought.
I know. It's like anytime you're just sort of just like, well, what if we just like sit here for a while? And it's like, no, because we have very limited minutes in the park.
Right.
And like, you know, like we should be trying to do something at almost all times, because you know, like we could sit around at home, you know.
right.
Sit around at home. We're not at home right now. We're at Disney World, so let's do some stuff. But this was like, you're right. This was like that turned up. Like that's sort of the feeling that it feels like that at Disney World almost all the time. But like we're sitting there at Tron, and like we got invited down before to do the Ratatouille ride.
Yes.
And that was a really cool experience too. It was like, oh my God, we were here for the opening. Like we were some of the first people to ever ride it. And I remember it was sort of the same thing. It was like, you have your scheduled time to go do it. And then they were like, all right, once everyone's through, like depending on how much time is left, you know, if you want to get back on it, just, you know, feel free to get on as much as you want.
Right.
You know, like after the schedule time. And I think in total, you and I did Ratatouille like 3 times. Like we did our scheduled one. Then we were just like, should we do it again? And yeah, all right, yeah. And so, you know, we got like the full experience or whatever. But this was like, you know, and Ratatouille is a fun ride. If you know, I don't know if it's worth like a 3-hour wait kind of ride, but if you've got a lightning lane and you love Ratatouille, for sure, go do it.
Absolutely, yeah.
But anyway, but like Tron, different story, because this is like high excitement, like easily one of the most thrilling rides at the park.
Yeah.
Like this and people kept comparing it to Guardians, and I'm like, I don't really feel like you have to choose. You know, they're different rides, but
yeah. Well, and it's very interesting as well on that exact note, because the ride itself is only 42 seconds long for the entire Tron experience, which like I remember somebody telling me that prior to like actually like it was like during the day leading up to the day that we were going to get to ride it, and I was like 42 seconds, like that's just I'm like I what could possibly happen to make you feel like you got like an experience that quickly? Because you're right, like there's no doubt in my mind that for at least the next like 5 years, if the park is open, there will be a like multi-hour wait to do this attraction. And I was like, I can't imagine, like, you know, if you were to go and stand in line for like 2 hours and it's 42 seconds long, like, how could you like, what could happen that you could get off of it and be like, wow, worth it? And it's like, the thing is that like it is so action packed, the whole like every millisecond of those 42 seconds.
That's the thing, is that like the time is used really well. Like we rode Thunder Mountain while we were down there too, and I thought about that because that one's like a little bit longer ride.
Yes.
But at the same time, there's like 3 parts of the ride where like the train is like climbing a hill.
Yeah.
So like I'm curious to know how long the ride is of just like fast movement excitement parts.
Right.
As well versus like 42 seconds of the ride. The other thing is with like 42 seconds, you'd think like they should be able to move a lot of people through it pretty quickly.
You would think so, yeah,
but,
for sure.
At the same rate, there's only, I think there's like, it's instead of being 4 person to a cart, it's like 2 people. Only there's not like squeeze in a 3rd person. It's like only 1 person fits on a bike.
Yes.
There's only 2 bikes next to each other, so it's like a max of 16 people
riding
on a train at a time. But they do have 2 sides, so I guess you can get through 32 people relatively quickly.
Yes.
But yeah, so that'll be curious. And it makes you wonder, like, does that matter? Like, if it goes that fast and it's always moving, it doesn't mean the line still can't get to like 2 or 3 hours or something.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So there's that. But anyway, so yeah, we're down there, and like, yeah, when we did Ratatouille, it was like you did it 3 times. It was like, I feel like I kind of got the, whatever. I wrote it enough.
Yeah. The thing about the Ratatouille ride for me is that it's the you have like the 4D goggles on or whatever, the 3D goggles, and it is one of those simulated, like similar to the Flight of Passage thing, where it's like simulated motion, where like they do that like tipping a chair backwards effect, where it's almost like you feel like you're like they're leaning you in such a way that makes you feel like you're going to continue to fall, which is what gives you the illusion of falling at all.
Yeah.
And I I have the same problem with any and all rides that are like this. It's like, I think there's like a little bit of the calibration has to be absolutely perfect to mimic real physics.
Yeah.
Otherwise you have that like weird kind of like should I be falling faster, more air rushing past, like too much air past, like,
Right.
it kind of gives you like a little bit of like, so
There's like an uncanny valley of,
yes.
of simulated falling.
yeah, simulated physics, I think
Yeah.
is like, yeah, you're absolutely, that's a great way to phrase it is
Yeah.
the uncanny valley of simulated physics, which is like, feels like the most complicated way to say
Yeah.
something simple. The only thing is I don't get motion sick on anything. I can like read a book in the front seat of a car, back seat of a car. Like I don't have any of those like problems. But I do get like a tiny little like piece of motion sick off
Yeah.
of those types of rides.
Right, yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean for sure. But like with Tron here, though, it's like there was absolutely this sense of like, this is the like right now we have been given the opportunity to ride this ride as many times as we want.
Yes.
And it was like when do you stop?
When do you stop?
When do you stop?
Should we still be there?
I know it's like because like this isn't going to happen again. Like we rode it while we were there on this trip 7 times total.
Yeah.
And it occurs to me that it might take 7 more trips to Disney World to ride Tron 7 more times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like there's a chance that we don't ride it 7 more times in the next 10 years.
Right.
Like that's like, and it's like you're down there like there it feels like irresponsible to stop riding the ride.
Yes.
Because we're here right now, and this will not happen again. You're never going to be alone in the room with no line, and they're just like, get back on, man, whatever, it's cool, this is your time, do it, enjoy yourself. It's like, man. And like the other thing though is that because it's so fast, because of the way you're sitting, like your body is experiencing all these weird like G-forces for like 40 seconds at a time.
Yeah.
Which, it's not like if you do it once, it's no big deal. When you do it 5 times in a row, it's like I'm starting to feel like a kind of a weird soreness here. Like your whole it's like full body tenseness for 40 seconds at a time.
Yes, and
Yeah.
I think that really speaks to a lot like I think it's almost like your expectations. Like I remember with rock climbing, for example, it was an activity that I feel like I like had like a predisposition to be good at. Like as a little kid, I was good at like pull-ups.
Yes.
I think I did 8 pull-ups in 3rd grade.
Yeah.
For like physical fitness testing. So got to rock climbing, took to it super naturally. But then when I got to my first ever rock climbing competition, I remember I was so worried about being marked points for taking multiple attempts to complete a climb that as I got up to it, I was over gripping the rocks as hard as I could because it was like, this is like I can climb up to V5 so comfortably, and this is a V1. This is like I should be able to run up this thing like it's a ladder, But it was like, but I don't want to fail, so I'm gonna really hang on tight. And the problem was like it destroyed my forearms,
Right.
doing stuff that I absolutely could do,
Right.
And I feel like this ride gives you that sensation because you're in this position that you're not used to being in. You look like you're riding a motorcycle for real, and not just
Yeah.
riding one, but maybe like racing one on a track.
You are put in the position that the people in the movie
Are in, yeah.
for the book the games.
In the games, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I
Proceed
feel
to
like
games.
proceed to games. And I feel like because of all of that, I think you overgrip the handlebars and you're like tensed and your body is like, you're like really like into it. Like you feel like you're gripping on for, you're not, it's perfectly safe.
Yeah, it's very safe.
But like, you can do it without even holding on at all. You can do like no hands.
Yeah,
and
which
everything.
we did.
But I think that's a piece of like what was happening as well. Is like the effect is so good that you're like you feel like you need to be doing it as if it's a real bike.
Right.
And that's because everybody had like a different kind of like, Alice was like, and this is not like because the seat was uncomfortable or anything either, but she was like, like, oh, like my shins hurt because she was like pushing so like her legs down so hard, almost like to like seat herself. And I was like, I'm surprised your shins are hurting. And I'm like, she looked over at me and I was like, I can like lift my shins off the ground. Like,
yeah.
I'm not putting any pressure on my shins, but
Right.
Then the center of my back was super sore just from like the way I was holding.
Yeah, there was a spot like right on the back of my neck where I was like, this is definitely where I'm like really like holding my head in place or something.
Yeah.
Or yeah. So there was that. There was like a certain amount of like, it was taking like a minor toll on your body. And then there's like, I don't know, mixed in with that, it was like this weird feeling of like, is it like, am I being like a little gluttonous for having this like 5 times, 6 times? Like, is this like, am I being like, am I being too indulgent or something? But it's like, no, not at all. You can just keep going. There's no problem at all.
And it
Just
seemed
go
like
as much as you want.
Right.
You're like that. It just feels like I'm breaking the rules. I just feel like you're gonna yell at me if I do it too many. Like, you're saying it, but you're gonna yell. And it's like, that just wasn't the case.
right.
You
Like
know?
the staff was legitimately like, you have this opportunity, you should be doing it.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
like absolutely get after it. But here's the other really cool thing about it. Or cool thing in my mind is like, the like, I remember watching Tron Legacy when it came out, like in theaters, however long ago. And, there's like Daft Punk does like the music for it. And it's got like a really cool vibe and aesthetic and all the rest of it and everything. And I remember like seeing the movie, I thought it was really cool. And I was like, nice, but like, I feel like going, and I watched the movie in preparation because we were going, on the trip, and I wanted to make sure I was like up on the grid and everything.
Yeah.
And then doing the ride itself and like the entire like aesthetic of the space is like just as thorough as like Guardians is, and or Flight of Passage for like Pandora and Avatar, and I'm like actually excited for more of like the world of Tron. I'm like,
same.
It's like I can't. I couldn't have told you by any stretch that this is like a franchise that I would have like roots dug deep into or something. I like the movie for sure. I've always thought it was good, but that was about where it left off.
Yeah.
But there's also a part of me that's like kind of excited for. It's hard for anything to be on level like with what Avatar is currently doing, just considering the fact that nobody's even really done what the original Avatar did, and it's been 10 years,
Right.
or whatever since the last one came out. But it's like to imagine like Avatar is this whole like immersive bioluminescent rainforesty type of world, whereas like the digitized environment of Tron feels like it's as starkly different as it can be, but has the potential to be as immersive.
Oh man, like if they did like an Avatar style Tron movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That would be crazy.
So can anybody get James Cameron on the line?
Yeah. Right.
I'll wait 15 years for it. But I feel like that would be super cool. So anyway, the Tron light cycle, incredibly awesome, very cool. Would definitely recommend if you're taking the trip, like I would do the wait. I would use your lightning lane on it. Do all that type of stuff.
Definitely do that.
Beyond that, though, I feel like we can just talk about this experience in like broad stroke terms as well, because there's definitely like it is surreal. I mean, like, and I think you get down there and we kind of talked about how you have like influencers or creative type people from just about every corner of the internet that I can even fathom in my mind.
Yeah.
But there's this one incredible like commonality amongst everybody, which is that I think almost every single person I had some version of imposter syndrome.
Oh, you think so?
I felt like everybody, maybe not every single person, but many people were like almost felt like, I can't believe I was given this opportunity. Like it feels like a mistake was made or something.
Right. Yeah. Like, why am I here?
Yeah. So I thought that was sort of interesting. Beyond that, it's also just like we said, like going to Disney is not always the most relaxing vacation in the world. It's very fun, but a lot of times you almost need like one of those like vacations from the vacation when you get home. And these trips are absolutely no exception to that rule. So like the big day that we had was, I think it was Tuesday of this week. We got up, all of us were up at like 6, showered, got ready, on the bus by 7:30 in the morning. And like the activities started and they had you planned for stuff to do. And of course it's like, I'm not complaining. Every single thing was so much fun, but they have you planned the entire time.
Yeah.
Like, right away you're going to like a breakfast that has like characters and like photo opportunities that are there. And then the breakfast itself is like a spectacle where they had like liquid nitrogen being poured into like a Fruit Loop cereal type thing. And, like you're having this like frozen frosted cereal breakfast. And,
right.
Then you leave that and they've got like fast passes lined up. So, like we're on Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railroad and Tower of Terror. And then we get to sneak preview like the new restaurant that's opening like in Toy Story Land.
Right.
And it's like, and when you go into that, it's like the whole Woody's Rodeo Roundup
Yeah.
is, I believe, what it's called.
Yeah, Woody's Rodeo Roundup Barbecue.
Yeah, and it's like when you get in there, it's like every single corner of the space is something
like,
to
yeah,
look at, you
right.
know, and so on and so forth through the whole day. And we got all the way. The very last thing that we did was the park closed to like the public, and then they reopened it for staff, and then like this like media group that we were there with for the return of the Happily Ever After fireworks show, which they were doing like after park hours. So it was 11:30 at night.
Right.
You know, the park has been emptied and refilled with staff and people.
Right.
So we saw that, you know, and so like we got back to our hotel room at 12:20 at night.
Right.
You know, after just this like
Marathon day of Disneying that took you to 3 parks and a resort.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was, so I mean, like just a, I don't even know. I keep feeling like I don't know what we did to deserve to be there. You know, like it was so cool.
It was just like it did feel like, because we were just there with like the whole family, and it was like this, like I don't, how can this be happening right now? Like, how are we here? Like getting to do all this stuff, and it was, I mean, I'm just so grateful for it. It was like a really fun trip, and it was I mean, they did a great job like making sure you, like, you know, that the whole day was filled and stuff, and like so I guess the theme for the trip was like all the thrills or whatever. So they wanted you know, I guess part of what they want you down there to do is of course to like amp up the new Tron light cycle ride, but of course that's only like one evening's worth of stuff. So in the meantime, I guess they're trying to like max, they want, I guess they think, you know, it's almost the same for them,
right?
Like, they're like, we've got this group of like 200 300 like super influencers all here at the same time, like we need to try and make sure we're maximizing our you know the amount of stuff that gets shared or whatever while we're down there. So they like, it felt like they like had like picked out like all the things they wanted, they were hoping to get highlighted by their big group of people there.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the other kind of like cool, I don't know if this is like a peek behind the curtain type of thing, but like when we're down there, like they're really good about not having required anything that we're supposed to post. Like at no point in time is it like, ooh, you must do a post like for this and like make sure we review. It's like they literally are just like, we are bringing you to Camp Awesome, have fun, you know. And it's I think that they just sort of know like that there's enough really unbelievable stuff that you're going to inevitably dig into it.
Right.
You're gonna have So and we did. It was a really, really cool trip. Now,
good times.
That being said, I feel like there was another sort of like discovery of self I felt like I had on this particular trip, which is like I mean, I feel like for most of my life, I feel like usually like even the way that you and I would like tell other people sort of like a way to like kind of get like a quick get to know you between the brothers and stuff is I would say that typically people have said that, or that like we have even said that you are more of like an introvert and I am more of an extrovert. And I think on this particular trip, I was like, there's a chance that I am becoming more introverted because I was like, I don't think I realized it in the moment. I don't think like at any point in time, like I was like super like cognizant of it or anything, but like by the time we finally got like, you know, through the bus shuttle to the airport, the flight, you know, like getting home, picking up Addie from mom's, who was, you know, watching her for a couple of days while we were gone. Like I was just so unbelievably like drained in spend.
I mean, yeah,
like I feel like I was like, I need to recharge in a way that like I was like, if maybe this is how like introverts feel at the end of like a party or like a big get together or like I don't even know what, like just anything. You know, people always talk about like the determining factor for whether or not you're an introvert and extrovert is sort of like what energizes you. And so if it's like if being around people energizes you, then that probably means extrovert. And if being
alone time,
yeah. And so I was like, we have been around not only, you know, each other and everything, but just so many other people for nonstop for hours and hours on end for multiple days. I was just like, I am I'm so tired. Like we got home, went to bed at like 9 o'clock and woke up at 8 the next morning. I was like, that was like 11 hours of sleep. And,
Right.
and honestly, I still feel like I could have taken off work today.
Oh, I
and,
mean,
and
we definitely could have.
just sat
sure.
in a chair.
Yeah.
You know, and like, what'd you do with your day off? I sat there and I stared at the wall.
I did nothing. I just recovered. I mean, to be fair, they're long days and they're also physically exhausting as well.
They
As
are.
much as you're just interacting with people, you're walking around the parks and, we're up early and, your feet hurt and you're up late and, probably you're not eating regularly. So everything is working against you to get to be like very well rested.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely true. Yeah. That's the other thing too, is that like, we're staying at the Grand Floridian, which is sort of like a dream resort for us to get to stay at. Cause it's sort of like the crown jewel of like Disney experience. Like even
like if you've been to Disney World and you probably have like if you like look across the water when you get there, there's like all these buildings with the red roofs on it. That's the Grand Floridian.
That's the Grand Floridian. And it is actually the resort where the wedding pavilion where we got married is like it's part of like that same resort. And it's like this is a testament to like what it is to stay there, is that like for our wedding it was like not even on the table for resorts that we might book lodging in,
right?
Because it's just like it's a more expensive place to stay, and we were like there for 16 hours, all of which were spent sleeping.
Yeah, right.
It was like, I mean, you almost could have just put us in like a tent with a couple of comfortable cots.
Right, for as much time as you ended up spending at the hotel.
Yes, yeah. So it was very, very go. But anyway, yeah. So I thought it was very interesting. I was like, this is a different kind of like mental exhaustion than anything I've ever felt before.
Man.
But I mean, for such a good reason, it was so much fun.
Yeah. Well, maybe being a parent has, turned you introvert, Ben.
I know.
You're just happy to be just around the house and have like little tiny social interactions with your tiny little human.
Exactly.
And that's what recharges you now.
Right. I know. I did miss her so much.
Yeah. This was like your first, was this like your first extended trip away from her?
I think this would have been the longest I've been away from her. Yeah. I think so. I'm trying to track back through everything that we've ever done, but I did the Vegas trip, and that was a couple of nights too. So that may have been the real first one, but it was definitely like I think probably like when I went on the Vegas trip, we were at like this massive music festival with like a bunch of people who were very close in age to us. But like when you're at the parks, especially when we were just there like a month and a half ago with our kids and you're surrounded by kids, it was like every kid that went by, even if they were like crying or something, I was like, I wish Addie was here. Although I cannot imagine how you could possibly do. Some people on this trip were there with their kids. And
yes,
I was
they
like,
were, because they were like family vloggers and stuff.
Yes. Yeah. I was like, I cannot imagine both being there, taking in everything that you're taking in, attempting to produce the content alongside of it, and also being a parent on top of that.
Right.
I was like, man, like props to you, because that is a feat.
I mean, yeah, if you had a kid there and you had them up and going from 7:30 to 12:30, like, woo, good for you.
Yes,
that was hard.
Very impressive. Very impressive. So anyway, fantastic trip all the way around. So much fun. If you didn't see any of our coverage on like, Instagram or TikTok or any of the other places, be sure to go and check that out. Because it's pretty cool.
I highlighted all the stories. So if you just go to my page on Instagram, you can watch all the stuff we did from there.
That's at John Carlin.
Yeah. Where you will see, I mean, I think maybe the most interesting thing that we did that people were really invested in the stories, Ben, was the Pluto pin trading.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man.
Yes.
Super fun.
I love that you don't love things halfway, and it is like, I felt like this is like one of those things where you didn't like overly idealize pin trading. Like I felt like you did it. You were like in it, and it was like really fun to watch all of this unfold, because like I know that we said this before on the pod, but like it's like we found like a new hidden. Not even that hidden, because there's pin stores everywhere.
Pins everywhere.
But like it's like a whole new way to take in.
Yeah, to help experience the park, or like to add to your experience while you're there. Yeah. So in case you didn't hear, on one of the last pops, we started collecting Pluto pins when we were there earlier in the year. And I after we found out we were coming on this trip, I went and bought like a little like Mickey shaped like corkboard thing for my house, thinking like, oh man, like this is gonna be so cool. Like I've got like a few pins, but maybe not enough to like warrant a board. But knowing that I'm going back, I feel like I'll get enough to like it'll look full.
Yes,
it'll look fuller, or like it's not just this like barren board or something. So that's been in my house, and it had like my little 4 pins on it, and I was so excited to go down this time and start trading. I was like, I don't even know how many I thought I was gonna get. I think we netted like 14 new pins though.
Yeah, I know. It was amazing.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
But it really was this like very fun way to interact with the park, because we had like I guess part of the way you do it, or I guess in order to do the pin trading, you have to have stuff to trade. So we had, we bought like some like mystery packs, which will come with like 5 pins. And the way we were doing it is we try and pick ones that like maybe one of like the 5 mystery pins would be a Pluto pin.
Right.
But then if it's not, no big deal. We'll just do it at the pin traders whenever we find one. So that was sort of like our strategy going in. And at different places in the parks, they'll have the little boards, and you can look, and they basically just have to trade you whatever.
Yeah,
so it's not too hard. And then if they have something you're looking for, you just swap it out, and that's it. But what was really cool was that sometimes you'd go up there and you'd run into someone else who was like a much more serious collector of pins or something. So while we were at Animal Kingdom, we ran into this girl, Sydney, I think, and she had like these like books of just like pins, and she's just like there to show. That's like why she's there.
The Disney princess.
The Disney princess. That's what we called her, because we ran into her like a couple times throughout the day. And she's just like, she was just like, oh, you guys want to trade? Let's go over here and trade. Let's go. Awesome. And it was like, no matter, it didn't like, she was extreme. It was a great like positive experience, first person to interact with, because she was just like, I'm just here for it, man. So we got like I think a couple from her, and then we later in the day bought more, and then ran into her again, and we're like, hey, guess what? We have more. Do you want to trade again? And she was like, of course. So that was really fun. But then I think 2 days later, when we're at Magic Kingdom, we ran into this other guy who was kind of doing the same thing that that me and Beth were doing with the Pluto pins, except he was all like Donald pins.
Yes.
And this guy was like aspirational,
He had like done pins so well.
So
it was just
aggressively.
like he like for one, he had like full Donald Duck wears on. So like like the spirit jersey, and like the like hat and clothes, and like his lanyard is Donald Duck, and it's just like, I mean, you can't even
Crocs on with Donald Duck Croc adornments.
Yeah. And like, but like his lanyard was so full of Donald Duck pins that you couldn't even see the lanyard.
Oh my gosh. Like I sometimes when people are like, I want you guys to go out there and give 110%. I'm always like, that's kind of like, you can't say 110. That's like not physically possible. You can't give 110%. This guy's lanyard was 120% covered in Donald. Like
they said it couldn't be done.
They said it couldn't be done. This was more than it felt possible to have on there.
Yes.
Like it was oversaturated. They're overlapping on each other. You're thinking the lanyard's just going to rip right off. But he must have been like wearing over 100 Donald pins.
Had to be.
I mean, it was crazy, but so that was really fun. And then we went and talked to him, and I was like, oh my gosh, like we're sort of doing the same thing with Pluto. And I felt like I had my lanyard full of Pluto pins. And
what would you have, like 12?
I know. I was like, wow, I am being so outclassed here. But like at the same rate, I had bought a Pluto sweatshirt that day. So I was like, I had like my Pluto sweatshirt on and my Pluto pins, and I'm talking to this guy, and he's got his, Donald sweatshirt and his Donald pins. And I was like, we're like the same. We're the same.
I know. Yeah, it was so funny. It was like, it really was amazing how absolutely visibly similar but you were like a level like 4, and he was like a level like 67.
Yeah. Like you're further down the path than me right now.
Yes.
But then like we went, and he was like, hey, me and my wife are posted up over here. We're doing pin trading. And we go over, and his wife looks up, and she's like, these are the Carlin. Do you know who this is? And then she's like, these are the Carlin brothers. We watched them. And then he turns, and he's like, like he had not quite put the pieces together.
It was really funny. It was like, it had to have been like one of those things. Like you could see the recognition dawn on him, like as we were standing there, like, you know, like we had already chatted with him for a couple of minutes, and like he was like, yeah, like my wife's over here, like bring us along. And like the moment happened, he was like, it was so, and they were so nice.
They were super nice. They traded us some Pluto pins, so that all worked out.
It worked out super well.
It was good. I wish I could have given him a Donald pin he didn't have, but of course there was no chance. there was no chance.
Yeah, I feel like the odds would be so not in your favor for somehow managing to have.
Yeah.
When he's got like 100 pins on his lanyard,
yeah,
it's like you'd have to really have something special.
And then at that point, you're just like, well, maybe I've got a really good pin here. Maybe I should just keep it.
Yeah, right. Like, you mean you don't have this one? No. maybe I don't want to let go of it.
Yeah, no, but they were very nice. So it was like super fun collecting. It also it felt like when you were talking to the other like influencers who were there with us, like we were. Like we're such Disney people to begin with that like we're not just down here experiencing Disney World, you know, for the first time or whatever. You know, we've got like we're a few layers deeper. You know, people are like, did she have these pins here? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm that level in at this point.
Yes, yeah.
I'm experiencing the parks in ways you don't understand yet.
So that was the really funny thing. Yeah. So like I think your like 12 pins to everybody in our group was the 120%.
I know. They're like, man, look at this guy.
I know. Yeah. It was I don't know, it was so much fun. It was so cool. And you know, you got to see like a couple of kids like walk up and like have their first like pin trade experience.
Yeah,
and like
cool.
You know, they had like just left the pin trader store and had like, you know, like their like starter set or whatever. And it was just like it definitely, it makes me so excited for being able to like watch our own kids like reach that stage, and even being in a good position to like help guide them into it a little bit.
Well, like it was weird because like when I got home, like my mentality when I've been doing this whole thing is that like our family will collect Pluto pins. That'll be like something we do. And then like when I got home, Luke's like, why do you get only Pluto pins? And I was like, you might want to do something different. Okay, I'm on board. What do you want? You know?
Right. Yeah.
Who do you want to collect? Or I will say this, if you've never been to Disney, it can be overwhelming the amount of stuff that's there. If you're like shopping. Or something.
I think you're understating it.
I'm understating it. And if you're like, you can't be understating it, I am. There's a lot. But I think just my great pro tip going in is to like pick a theme or a character or like a movie or something specific that you can tailor your purchasing desires to. To or at. Because like, I mean, certainly you probably love a bazillion different, you know, Disney movies or franchises or whatever. And you know, feel free to get whatever you want. But like there's the indecision can be great because of the vastness of stuff. But like focusing in like just like Pluto pins, that's what we're going for. It made it like very easy to just sort of like know what we wanted. And then I have a fear that it's going to snowball into like lots of Pluto stuff that isn't just the pins. Yeah, I know. I'm like, because I got the sweatshirt and I was like, well, now I feel like what's going to happen is I'm probably going to have a hat and I'm probably going to start getting mugs. And you know,
I'm a Pluto guy.
I know. I'm like, no, I'm a Mickey mugs. That's what I do. I get the Mickey mugs, but we didn't get a mug on this trip. And I was like, it's like the first time I haven't gotten a mug. So
see, maybe you're just like leveling up and like, so it depends on like what the merch item is.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, like when it comes to mugs, you got Mickey. When it comes to pins, it got Pluto.
Exactly. There we go. So
I know.
We'll see.
So yeah, I need help though, because my rampant indecision as ever is always like I was like at like all these stores, and like I'm watching you have so much fun. I'm like, well, I gotta pick a character that like, you know, but then like you want to pick a character that like there's going to regularly be something for. Like was it Sydney? Is she our Disney princess?
Yeah.
I feel like she had like decided like Baymax. Yes. You know, like was her character. So like her backpack, like she had like, you know, her lanyard, and she had like her pin board like in her, like inside of her backpack, and like a folio and like bags and all that. But like on the outside of her backpack were all Baymax pins. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Those
were pretty good.
So it's like, I feel like I have to figure out like what is like what I want to choose. So there's a part of me that almost wants to like wait until Addie can help.
Yeah. Like don't force it. Just like let it naturally occur.
Right.
Because like I don't think Pluto has always just sort of been Pluto to me.
Yes.
You know, until like this past trip, and I was like, oh man, I'm all in on Pluto now, I guess.
I guess
you
so.
know,
like I bought all that stock.
Got all that. Yeah, I'm in. Let's go. You know, but I haven't always been like a diehard Pluto person. But now I feel like this is like my new Disney brand.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Like, you want, if you pick something like too obscure, that's like there's never going to be anything.
Right.
You know, would you think that? But like, you know, it just depends on the property. Like, I can't believe the number of Aristocat things you see when you're at Disney. You know?
Yeah.
It's sort of a weird one.
Aristocats is not one of those.
Yeah.
It's like I've gone back and like revisited and I'm like, I don't think I like this.
Yeah. I don't think this is good. I don't know about this one.
Yeah, I know. I think it's one of the ones that Alice really likes. I feel like this is like the problem when it comes to like all classic Disney things. We have like complete like opposing taste,
Yeah,
so we have to like always like figure out like what's our common ground, and we'll live there.
Yeah,
nice and safe. Okay.
There you go.
Anyway, I feel like we've covered our Disney trip pretty good. You want to hop a little transition here?
We can transition.
Let's do it. Transition.
Okay, Ben.
Okay.
So not specifically about the trip, but
Yep.
as something as part of the trip on the plane ride down and up, I discover I was looking for like something. They have like the head back seats or whatever.
Yep.
You can like plug in and watch stuff, and I always feel like so pressured to find like just the right thing to watch on these trips, and I'm like, people are going to look around, and if I'm watching something that's like embarrassing or something, they're gonna judge me and remember and tell their friends and be like, you're not gonna believe this guy on the plane was watching. And I'm like, oh, gosh.
It's like I caught a glimpse of his driver's license. I'm pretty sure his name was Jonathan Carlin.
Yeah.
He lives
Yeah.
at this address.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, send him mail. Send him mail.
Send him mail
For watching The Devil Wears Prada
yeah,
on the plane. Can you believe it?
Great example.
Thanks.
Because it's such a good movie, but that like you could feel a little weird watching by yourself on a plane.
No, I love that movie.
No,
It's a great one.
Anyway, I was flipping through the movies and I saw the James Bond movie Casino Royale.
Yeah.
Which was the first Daniel Craig James Bond movie, and I was like, you know what? I remember liking this movie. I haven't seen a James Bond movie in like so long. So sure, I'm gonna fire this up. I'm gonna watch Casino Royale again, and goodness me, it took me the plane ride down and the plane ride back to finish it.
Yep.
I like took a picture of like when I got there. I was like, this is my screen time.
Right. Yeah.
Let me fast
58
forward.
minutes in.
Yeah, 58 minutes. Let me fast forward here, so I can make sure I watch it. And like, I could not believe how much I enjoyed it.
No,
like, it was so good.
It was really interesting because I was kind of like watching it like a little bit over your shoulder because I didn't like watch anything on the plane at all. I was just listening to my book, and so like I kept looking over, and every time I did, I found myself like, so this is kind of the interesting thing. So I was like, Jay, who's watching your screen? Like nobody's paying attention to that.
Yeah.
And then it's like, meanwhile, I'm watching your screen like half the time, just being like, oh, what a cool scene.
Yeah.
This is pretty awesome.
What's going on here?
Daniel Craig was such a good choice for Bond.
James Bond. Yeah.
He's such a cool Bond.
So that was almost what I was thinking. I was like I remember like growing up, like James Bond, just like in general being like the coolest thing is like, oh, 007, secret agent. It's got all the cool spy gadgets, and it was always saving the day. And
yeah, well, and we grew up with I feel like GoldenEye was really like the iconic one that came out probably not, I was going to say at the right age for us, and I was like, probably not even at the right age.
This is the thing, is that like I remember as a kid thinking, I love James Bond movies. But then also sometimes like, you'd go and you'd like go to the video store and you'd rent one and you'd watch it. And I remember like for the most part, I don't think I could tell you like the plot of most James Bond movies.
That's,
like as a kid, it was just like, I just want to see him do the action and play with the gadgets and go talk to Q and get the stuff. And
yes,
yeah,
absolutely. I mean, it was always the gadgets. I think for me, it was kind of like, how is he going to use the remote mind with the watch, or like what will the car be able to do that we've never seen before? Like what type of weapon is hidden in the heel of his shoe or something? Yeah. But like for the most part, like I don't think I was ever really actually successfully tracking what these things were about.
Yeah. Which is like the sort of this like, it's weird because like you think of it as such a cool character that as a kid I was like, I love James Bond movies, but like I couldn't tell you what it was about at all other than 007 spy movie thing. And so watching this one though, I think obviously I think I was old enough when I saw Casino Royale to genuinely follow the plot. But the other thing about James Bond movies is that like in general, or they don't really, there's not like much continuity between them at all. Like,
Sure.
you know, there's like the Sean Connery era and the Roger Moore era and that one movie that one guy was in, and then Pierce Brosnan and now Daniel Craig, and I think people keep whispering like Idris Elba, which would be awesome.
That would be so cool.
I know.
That would be a good bond.
That'd be a really good bond. But so, like, you'd watch like a single movie and it didn't feel like, oh yeah, you need to watch them in any specific order or anything like that. But like, what I liked about the Daniel Craig era was that there is a certain amount of continuity between like his 5 movies. It's almost like a soft reset, really.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, it's also had like Judi Dench has just been M the whole time, you know, like Bond changes, she doesn't. Q hasn't changed until the actor died, and now we have a new Q.
Right.
But you know, it's like it's such a unique movie franchise.
It definitely is. Yeah, like the whole, because like Bond is also books too, right? Like that's really like where that was the source material that like then turned into like all these movies. Yeah. No, it's a very interesting one because I mean I always go back to it as kids. I mean, it was the same thing as like, you know, we were into like, you know, Star Wars as kids, and I would have said that we were just as into Bond as kids. Like this was just like a huge, like we would go to the movie store, and like if we were having like a sleepover with our friends, we would go and rent like a old Bond movie and watch it. But you're 1000% correct, which is just that like I don't remember. Even right now, while I'm trying to give these good examples, it's like I've probably seen the movie GoldenEye 20 times in my life, and I don't know what it's about.
Right.
Like I remember moments of it so vividly, but I don't remember like anything to do with like what the threat was.
Yeah, I know that like at the beginning of the movie, James Bond and whoever 006 are working together, and you're like, oh my god, there's another 00 agent we've never seen before. We've never seen him work with the other ones, and he like dies at the beginning, but then plot twist, he's the bad guy. What?
Nice little Frozen 2 reference there.
Thank you. Yeah, I remember that much about it, but that's about it. Yeah, I couldn't tell you the plot much. I remember the clicky pen.
Clicky pen.
And Boris and Natalia.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember those things. And if you click the pen 3 times and waited 5 seconds, it would like explode. He kept watching. I remember him having a conversation, talking to someone, and he could see him just clicking the pen as like a nervous tick. And he was like, "Oh my god, wait, 1, 2, 3, click, click again. Oh my god, 1, 2."
Yeah. It's like stop with the pen. Yeah, no, it's so funny. But yeah, so we've also played that video game like a million times as well. Although I don't know if I ever beat it even.
Oh, we beat it.
All I remember about the train level on GoldenEye was at the end where you have to like use the laser watch to like ruin the duct tape that's holding the floor plate down. And it was like oddly difficult to like hold your like arm steady to try to like cut through it.
Yes, I do remember that as well.
Good fun. Yeah.
Good fun. But so my question, what I thought was interesting about this is that like Casino Royale is probably a thing I think might be just I don't know. I think it's probably my favorite Bond movie. Hard stop, easy.
Not because you just watched it in the past few days.
I think a lot of people would tell you it's the best Bond movie.
Okay.
Is what I think. I could be wrong, but I don't know. But it occurred to me that like as a kid, I thought these movies were the best. And yet, as an adult, even though Daniel Craig might be the best Bond, and has like a continuous story that, you know, goes across 5 movies or whatever, like I found myself very uninterested in James Bond as an adult.
Yeah.
And yet I watched after watching this movie, I was like, well, I don't know who I'm kidding. That was awesome. I'm watching all of these.
Is there a Bond theme park we can go to?
It's almost surprising that there's not. It seems like something that would be Universal, like the James Bond ride.
It does feel that way. Yeah, and you'd be like in some type of like Aston Martin, like
right. I'm down. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, rip roaring.
He absolutely destroys a couple of Aston Martins in Casino Royale.
Most certainly.
And Quantum of Solace, which I then watched last night.
Was that as good?
It was not as good as Casino Royale. No, I don't know whose decision it was to go from all of the whatever kind of action scenes they were doing in Casino Royale, but in Quantum of Solace, they just decide like, hey, you know what Bond needs? Shaky cam, and it's terrible. So I don't like shaky cam at all. I don't think anyone does. I don't know why it became this fad for a while, but it feels like people are over it, and we can just leave it in the past. But this was a victim of shaky cam. So some of the action scenes are very like, and they also did this thing in a lot of the action scenes where they would be like trying to like set the tone for what this action scene was supposed to be like, and they'd be like, here's Bond fighting, and then we're cutting back to a horse race, and now they're running down the hallway, and now this horse is up to the front, and now he's punching him, and now that horse tripped, and you're like, I don't care about the horse race. You know? But they did this several times with like different events. And it would be like they'd be like cutting from like one dramatic thing to the fight scene, and they're like back and forth, and you're like, you don't need to do that, just don't do shaky cam and give me a well choreographed fight, you know.
Right they were like, it worked for Star Wars, you know. It's like that's like the classic Star Wars situations. You have like 3 battles all going on at one time.
But the horse race is not even related. It's just there. It's just part of the environment.
But Bond fighting some villain in a really cool way, also horses racing.
Exactly.
Okay. So we're gonna have to need continuous updates on your Bond fandom.
I will continue to update you. I will say the other thing that occurred to me is that like over time I've heard people be like, what is this guy, a James Bond villain? You know, like I've heard that phrase, and it's like, it occurred to me that when people say that, what they mean is that like this guy's kind of an over the top, wily, like kooky villain guy, which is like I understand what that means, but never when I was a kid watching Bond movies did I think like, oh man, this is such a wacky movie.
Oh, sure.
But there is like, it's such a weird combination of like glitz and glam and like, you know, this is the coolest man alive versus then also he's got these like sort of like wacky gadgets and like over the top villains who are like, just like, I'm going to rule the world.
That's the thing. Like, it's like, I feel like we're going back to like Austin Powers. It's like I feel like those villains, and Austin Powers, I guess in a lot of ways is just supposed to be like parody of Bond. Is that
like Dr. Evil is like Goldfinger.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. And I feel like that is like one of those things that I think maybe Marvel has like really brought to the forefront is like your villains' motivations need to matter. Like you like the audience needs to know like with some idea in mind of like why they're trying to rule everything, you know, like what is the like it's not enough just to be like, I'm gonna take over the world. It's like that's a lot of responsibility and does not sound like a lot of fun. And I'm like, why does everybody want that? Like, you know, it's like this, like you're gonna be busy all the time. Like being the ruler of the world doesn't mean you get to sit on some type, well, maybe you do get to sit on some kind of like really cool throne, but like
you can do whatever you want.
This is the exact premise of like Game of Thrones too, though. It's like everybody wants power, and I'm like, why?
I know.
Why? Like, come on, like power.
Who in power is enjoying themselves?
Power is the most overrated thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
So
much
anyway.
media.
Okay, well, keep us posted on your Bond things. I think we have time for one last transition before we close out. All right, Jay, just to keep on theme, because I feel like at this point in time we're sort of like we've spent most of the episode talking about it anyway. But so the other kind of like interesting phenomenon. So I was torn about like which thing could be actually at work yesterday. Like I mentioned, like I can't tell you, am I becoming a little bit introverted? Am I like maybe like a little bit more okay spending time inside of like my own head? But like a lot of this is happening as we're like on our route home. Yeah. And so like I can't even tell if like what I'm having is like a socializing like hangover, if you will, where it's like I've just been like so on for like the past 72 hours of my life that like now I'm sort of in this like kind of odd position of like I don't know like what to do with my brain, or like my brain was like juiced and like almost needs time to like refuel. But the other thing, like, you know, Alice and I have noticed throughout the years is this like thing that we refer to, and I think it's a real thing, called like the Disney blues.
Oh yeah, that's a real thing.
Which is basically like, you know, when you're down, you know, at Disney and everything, it's like all the employees and everybody who works there, they're always also like great and helpful, and like, you know, they're like positive and bubbly and all the rest, and like there's always sort of that like stark difference when you get to the airport, and like, you know, the people who like maybe less stoked to be working like the you know, like airport snack store thing,
right,
than maybe the folks were, you know, getting to like work an attraction at Disney or whatever. So sometimes I do feel like there's a little bit of this like jarring sensation when you do like re-enter, you know, the air quotes, like, you know, the real world. But we had a couple of like, there's like an interesting phenomenon that we noticed, and it almost felt like we were like walking through this like warp tunnel on our journey back to Roanoke. So we're at the like Orlando airport, and like I think our business credit card or whatever allows us to get into like the lounge, so it's like we sort of leave this like otherwise like really spectacular, beautiful, glitz and glammy type of like trip to Disney, like where everything was like special and cool and we had this like behind the scenes access, and you felt like very special. And so like we get to the airport, and like the shuttle was like got us there early enough that we had like a wait before our thing's gonna go off. So like we've never done the lounge thing before, so like let's just go and see like what that's all about. And, like you get in there and you're like, well, this is neat.
Yeah,
it's
different.
Like, there's like food and a comfortable chair and like a place to charge my phone and like all the rest. Like that was sort of like the first phase on our journey back, was like getting to still go and do something where you kind of felt like special, or like there was like, I don't know, whatever. And so like then we leave that and like kind of go through all of our stuff to whatever, to go from Orlando to Atlanta, and those are such big airports that it's like the first terminal when you get to your like or the first gate when you got to our terminal or whatever was like the one for Atlanta. So it's like we don't even have to walk that far. Like easy peasy. This is great. We'll hop on the plane. All is well. So then we like get to Atlanta, and it's like, okay, well, so now we don't have like as much time, so we can't we can't do like a lounge or anything like that. So but like, we'll navigate our way down. It's like you're trying to find your way, but like flying to Roanoke is such a small
airport,
which means such a small plane. So in the process, like now we've left the Disney parks, we've gone to the lounge in Atlanta, we were at the first gate on the terminal, on our first flight, and then like you get to Atlanta and you're like, okay, now we've got like a really long walk, and we're going to like the furthest terminal where we are the last gate, and like,
and you're like walking down the terminal towards the gate towards Roanoke, and it's like you can just like look around you and watch like physically all of the like every step brings you further away from how much the airport cares about you as a customer.
Yes, yeah. It's like, you're like in like the central hub, and there's like a Cinnabon and a Starbucks and like, like a Buffalo Wild Wings and like all these cool shopping boutiques and like fun eateries and stuff like that. And like you kind of like move past it a little bit, and it's like, okay, like, here's like there's like a multimedia store where you can buy like AirPods and like phone chargers and stuff like that. There's like the snack place that has like bottles of water and like books and magazines, and you go a little bit further, and then there's like like a small stand that sells like turkey sandwiches like wrapped in plastic and like bottles of water, and like and then you go 200 yards beyond that, and you are like approaching our gate where they don't even have chairs.
Right, yeah. Our gate didn't have chairs.
Yeah, so it's like
it's like you're just gonna sit. We'll just sit like kind of over here, I guess.
Yeah, it's like we're in like D44, and we have to like go to like D39 before you can even find any chairs at all. Available for sitting. I was like, wow, we really went through like the warp zone on our way
on our way back to Roanoke.
Yeah, like at this point too, you're getting on like what is like a puddle jumper type of plane. So it's like a much smaller plane, and we're in the back. It's just like, all right, we're back to reality again. All the pixie dust is
Here we go. It's cold in Roanoke. No, it wasn't that cold.
It was okay. But yeah, so definitely a very interesting journey back indeed. Yeah.
Yep.
That was, at this point in time, we didn't have the multimedia headrests either.
Oh yeah, like that was weird because when we left Roanoke to go to Atlanta, they had the headset whatever screens,
right,
back of the seat screens. But then going from Atlanta to Roanoke, they did not.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what happened to maybe we got lucky on the way down, or less lucky on the way up, or I don't know.
I don't know. It's very interesting though, this like world of travel. Like I always go back to the movie. It's got George Clooney and Anna Kendrick in it, and it's called Up in the Air.
I love that movie.
It's so good. But it's like you basically are like following this guy around who's like collecting all of the frequent flyer miles, and I feel like as time has gone on, I feel like I have decided that it is like well worth trying to like find, like if you've never done like TSA pre-check before or whatever, it's sort of like an unusual experience getting like set up with it. like where you like go and it's basically like you were like being fingerprinted sort of like preemptively. So in case you ever, I guess, did do something wrong, it's like, well, you're already on file. So now we know exactly who you are. And also like making a sworn statement, like, that you're sort of like, I don't plan to ever, endanger like the plane or something like that. But then you get like earlier or like speedier access, like through the airport. And it was like, these are all the little things that I'm like, it's worth doing these things. It is worth.
Oh man, the TSA one you should just do, right? Because like it's not really expensive, I think, in any way.
It's not terribly expensive. As long as you fly at least a few times a year.
Yeah. And like you don't have to do anything. There's no test or anything. It's just, they just tell you where to show up and you show up. Like that's the test. Can you be here at a scheduled time?
Right.
There you go. Now you can not skip security. You still have to go through, but it's way faster.
Right. This is always the thing, like that the experience that I tend to go through is almost like I feel the same way about like the like lightning lanes or what. I'm frustrated that you have to like pay for them sometimes for like Disney parks or whatever.
Yeah.
But like a lot of times if there's like a 3-hour line and they're like, would you pay $8 to be at the front of the line right now? I'm like, I would. I would pay $8 to be at the front of the line right now. And so I feel like that's kind of how it is with like the TSA pre-check. So definitely like been like one of those learning experiences because we've traveled a fair bit for work over the past several years well, actually specifically not the past several years, but before then and here recently.
Yeah.
Spent some time on planes and stuff. So it's interesting to me that I feel like I am like, reaching that stage where it's like I want to like optimize this process as much as humanly possible.
More, yeah.
Which is really translating, I think, to so many aspects of my life. It's like, like what can I automate? What can I do to make sure it's just like always
just
smooth control. Yeah. Anyway, so if you haven't done it yet, go and check out TSA pre-check. I don't think that you would be upset. And then you get to feel cool because you're like, they've got like the special line with like the sign and everything. It's like, I'm pre-check.
I'm right here. I'll just be going through. So
you can get your own like James Bond sort of like little like flip down, like I got credentials.
Yeah, James Bond doesn't carry credentials, man. You don't have like a badge that says you're a secret agent.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, right. Because then that is so identify you as a secret agent.
It's my secret agent badge.
Like all Bond has to say is Bond, James Bond. And that's it.
No, I love it. It seems like the best place to stop, too. Guys, if you have any feedback for today's episode, please send it over to popcornculturepod@gmail.com. Or if you'd like to support us on Patreon, you can do so by heading over to patreon.com/popcornculture. We have a bunch of really cool different tiers over there. If you'd like to check them out, the $5 tier, for example, you can get access to After the Final Pop. It's an extra 15 to 20 minutes of Jay and I talking after each week's episode, whether it's about something that we talked about in the main episode or something we didn't get to in the main episode. It is lots of fun, and if you sign up even just for a single month, you get access to the full back catalog for that month. So if you're just like, man, I'm so caught up on popcorn culture and I want more to listen to, that is a great way to get a whole lot of content right headed in your direction. So again, patreon.com/popcornculture. Otherwise, until next time,
Pop.